Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
All right, you?
Good. It's going to be I give you advance warning. The Spurs play 5 games in 7 nights starting last night.
Right, tonight, they have one tonight, right?
Yeah, tonight a 9 o'clock tip, which really means a 9:10 tip. I won't get out of here till like 12:30.
And I may or may not be in tomorrow, depending on how the shot treats me.
Oh, wow. So your shot's today?
2:30.
Oh, my God. I totally forgot. Yeah, be ready. And again, it's so crazy. My friend Steve, who's roughly my age, got the same shot, Pfizer, second shot, no reaction on the second shot. And he got his one day after mine. And I said, hey, man, get ready. Here it comes. And it's nothing. So
you're crazy. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. You're such a wimp. Hopefully you'll get 0. But if you get hit, I totally understand. Oh, God. So, and I think we're supposed to, we'll talk about it a little bit in each hour, headed up to 8:20. I think from Brian's email, he wants us to talk up the 8:20 NASCAR Cup Series contest a little bit. Let's see. Ooh, we're already here, I think. Anthony Del Toro, Tracy Bogart as Tracy Bogart, as opposed to Pendejo. Hector Gomez, what is up? Duel. The first Monday in May, the Monday after the NFL draft weekend, 2 gut-wrenching losses for the Spurs over the weekend. Aaron Rodgers digs in. LeBron James poo-poos the play-in tournament. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Welcome in on a Monday morning. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, soundscape stylist Dave Ayler. We'll talk to Dave here in a moment and explore his pretty cool T-shirt. I think he's got us both beat on the T-shirt game this morning. Shannon, how was your weekend?
Uneventful, but in a good way. Just kind of relaxed. Watched some of the draft. I didn't cry at all watching any of those videos of people's dreams coming true. Not once.
There's no crying in NFL draft.
No, it's yes.
There it is.
It's so wonderful. I happened to be at dinner with a TV right in front of me when the first Longhorn was taken off the board. Samuel Cosme, of course, knowing us, he just had to go to an NFC East rival and ended up at Washington, but I'm happy for him. And then right when I got up from the table, Joseph Osai, the second Longhorn, goes off the board. So overall, it was a great weekend for the Longhorns. 5 of the 6 players were drafted. And as we now know, that 6th player, Brennan Eagles, is going to sign with the Dallas Cowboys as an undrafted free agent. He's got a long way to go. He's a wide receiver.
Yes.
They've taken a couple of wide receivers in the free agency here. We obviously know the big names that are already stars on that roster. Of course, money will come into play here in the next couple of years. So there's always a chance. He's got a chance. It's all you need. All you need is a chance, and he's got one.
Well, and as you mentioned, you've got a Longhorn going to an NFC East team, and the one Longhorn we get is named Eagles. I'm just, I don't like his name. I mean, I'll get used to it if he can contribute to the Cowboys, and I remember him playing for the Longhorns, of course. But a Cowboy named Eagles, I don't know.
Maybe that'll work in our favor, though.
Ooh, that's true.
How great would that be if he caught TDs against the Eagles?
He could just destroy the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I would like that. That'd be cool. And, of course, I was always intrigued going into the draft, Shannon, where would Sam Ehlinger go? We now know former Longhorn quarterback Sam Ehlinger. I think the more I think about it, not a bad destination for him. The Indianapolis Colts with the very erratic Carson Wentz as their current starter.
Yeah, I think we were talking a lot about, maybe like a Tampa Bay kind of situation where he's got an older guy that he could learn under and potentially just kind of swoop in and, transition him out, and maybe he gets that starting gig one day. But you're totally right. Being behind a guy like Carson Wentz isn't so bad. Maybe not the mentor that Sam needs, but the coaching staff, if should they do their job, he'll be just fine. So excited for him. We've actually got some of his draft reaction that we can play later today because I think he fell a little further than what some people were expecting, but overall very positive outlook. And again, happy to see another Horn, see his dreams come true. The video of him getting that phone call surrounded by his family. Again, no tears were shed.
it is, and as you allude to it, Shannon, that is one of my favorite parts of the NFL draft. Just seeing these guys' dreams come true, often in the same frame with their family, and that they've been playing football since pee-wee football, since somebody put a football in their hands as a child. And very early on, in most cases, in the vast majority of cases, these are guys who excelled in football from a very young age and were typically one of the best, in their pee-wee football leagues, maybe in their middle school, then high school, and then college. It's just a cool thing to see throughout the NFL draft. And I was watching, I think this was Saturday. By Saturday, you just kind of, or at least me, I have it on. I'm doing other things. I'm multitasking. I'm doing chores, but it's on. Mel Kiper Jr., we give him a lot of crap, and we should, for the hair, for the attitude, but I was just watching him, and I developed, he's been around forever, but just his passion for the draft. And our very own Mel Kiper is Tanner Carlson, and we'll have him on the show tomorrow to get his thoughts on the draft. But if all of us had the passion for whatever we do in life that Mel Kiper Jr. has for the NFL draft, I think we'd all be very, very successful. You got to hand it to the guy, love him or hate him, for just he's so into it. It's kind of fun watching somebody so into something.
Yeah, and that's why he's been around for years. And you mentioned Saturday. Saturday gets to the point where it's just like names being rattled off, right?
Yeah,
it's the end of the draft. A lot of people, they were live in Cleveland this year, and you noticed all the people that were there Thursday, a little bit less Friday, but still plenty of people. And then Saturday, getting a little empty out there. But to have a guy like that lead the way and that energy, you're right. There's a reason he's been doing it as long as he has been.
You mentioned we've got audio on Sam Ehlinger. We also have audio on friend of the show, headed to the Pro Football Hall of Fame this summer in August, Drew Pearson. Last time he announced a Cowboys pick, it was in Philadelphia, and he trolled Philadelphia Eagles fans. We didn't know what to expect this time, but once again, number 88, Drew Pearson, did not disappoint.
No, it was spectacular. I saw him come on stage. Again, I think I was in a similar situation as you where I saw him.
Yeah.
But this was prior to me being seated at this table that I was discussing earlier where I saw the Texas players go off the board. So no audio for me. But I can see his arms waving and the passion in his face. And I immediately tweeted out, someone send me this video. And thank you so much to our listeners who sent it my way because it did not disappoint. Do we have it yet, Dave?
Yeah, if we've got it, we'll go ahead and play it now. Maybe we'll play it again later in the show as well because it's so darn good. I believe this was the second pick in the draft for the Dallas Cowboys. And like you said, Shannon, I'm doing the Spurs broadcast. I'm in the Spurs studio that night. And like you, I'm looking at a television screen initially with no audio. I'm just watching Drew go. And I'm going, oh, my God, what is he saying? What is he up to? For any of you who might have missed it, or for those of you who want to relive it, here's our good friend headed for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this August, legendary Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Drew Pearson at the NFL draft announcing the Cowboys pick.
Thank you. I am honored to be here to represent the Dallas Cowboys, to have this opportunity to announce the 44th pick in the second round. I'm also honored to be here in Cleveland, Ohio, home of one of the all-time greatest franchises in NFL football history.
All right. With America's Diamond was not involved in the original Drew Pearson. We able to bring
teaser.
That's a little teaser.
We'll play the full thing
And
later.
by the way, though, America's Diamond, sponsor of the show. So we're anytime we can pimp America's Diamond, we'll do that. But what
Mother's Day is coming up.
Mother's Day is coming up. In fact, it's next Sunday. Dave Ayler, how we doing? Should we move on, or you got a shot? I can't hear him, but we'll move on for now. That's a tease.
Yeah, because imagine he got so hyped for the Browns. Just imagine what he's gonna say when he finally gets to that Cowboys pick.
Yes. So a little bit of a technical issue.
Booing too.
Yes.
In the back.
Yeah. What?
There's got to be some Eagles fans.
Yeah. Yeah. There were definitely some Eagles.
Travel well.
What was one of the cool things, because it was Cleveland and it is the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we did see some musical acts come up and introduce some of the draft picks, which was cool. And I did like as well, Shannon, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell was kind of loose and fun, and he brought his Barca lounger that he used in last year's draft during COVID in his own home, and they let a super fan, a fan of each team per pick, sit in that kind of Barca lounger. What do you call one of those chairs? I call it a Barca lounger, a recliner.
Yeah.
And he, on the way out, he would let that fan, he'd like show them the pick before he'd announce the pick. Again, just another little wrinkle that the NFL added this year to this draft. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah, each year the draft seems to humanize individuals more and more, and I think it brings more people in. And I think after last year with Roger being at his home and on camera almost the entire time, I think he definitely feels a little more loose. And also I think people liked what he did last year given the circumstances, and I think he won some people over who typically like to throw him under the bus anytime there's a wrinkle in the NFL that they have a problem with, whether it's some ruling or lack thereof. Because I think for the job he's in, I think he's doing a pretty fantastic job. And, I'm sure his big night has got to be the NFL draft. Like, that's his prom night every year. That's his big moment to shine. And I think he did well this year.
Well, and it was so big for him. The NFL draft got bigger ratings than the Oscars for the first time ever, and it got bigger ratings than the NBA Finals. We'll talk more NFL draft, but we got multiple contests coming up for you this morning. Not just this one we're about to do, but another big contest later. Shannon and I will tell you what's coming. Right now, though, it is time for the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. Shannon and I do this at 6:20 and 7:20. We do it 12 times throughout the day on the 20s. Your chance to win $1,000. You're going to get a keyword. Go to the website of whatever station you're listening to, pop it in there, and you're in the running for $1,000. Here it is.
Right now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Water. That's water. Enter it now.
Water. It's an interesting keyword. I guess we'll take that one. And I do see that it is up there in the comments now as we stream live video on Ticket 760 and AM 1300, the Zone's Facebook pages. You can also get there through YouTube, which somebody from YouTube just asked us. Don't always get this question. Someone just asked us, Shannon, do you guys by any chance like the smell of diapers? No. But welcome in. We still welcome you on YouTube. There's also we're on board on Twitch as well. So Shannon, the draft. I guess it is the poll question of the day has to do with the NFL draft.
Yes, asking how you grade the Dallas Cowboys overall draft. Pretty simple: A, B, C, or D, or an F. Which I think is D. That's considered failing too, right?
Pretty much.
Because I think it's C's to get degrees, so I imagine a D wouldn't quite be good enough. But
no.
Right now, leading the way, 55% of the vote going to B, followed by a C, and D and F 16%. A only getting 11% of the vote right now. I chose B.
Yes,
just 'cause
so do I. But tell us why you choose B.
nothing was exciting to me about. I think they did what they had intentions and should have done, which was go heavy on defense. Again, I'm very prove it to me. Don't tell me, show me. So we'll see what happens when they come out on the field. Then we'll really be able to sit back and grade this draft. But nothing too exciting. They didn't go out of bounds too far. Maybe they took a couple guys early that they could have gotten later in the draft. But overall, just pretty solid for the Cowboys, who
Yeah.
typically don't fare too well.
I'm with you on a B. Maybe this will turn out to be an A. Micah Parsons, the more video I see on him and the more I listen to experts, the more it looks like, and he was their first pick with actually traded back to number 12 on opening night. He looks like he will be an impact player. The Cowboys, for the first time in their history, went defense for their first 6 picks, which absolutely, they had a historically bad defense. You got to believe or hope out of those first 6 picks, maybe 3 of them, if we're really lucky, maybe 4 or more of them become impact players. It would be nice. Finally, with their 7th pick, they go for a wide receiver. Good luck pronouncing his name. Simi Fehoko out of Stanford in the 5th round. Then they go defensive tackle, cornerback, and then they close out with an offensive guard from Nebraska. So we will see how the Cowboys fare. Yeah, nobody really jumping off the page, Shannon, other than Micah Parsons. We will see how their second pick, they went cornerback with their second pick. That was the one Drew Pearson was beginning to introduce. That was Kelvin Joseph out of Kentucky. Obviously going into the draft, we had heard Patrick Surtain was the probable draft pick coming out of Alabama. Those first 2 draft picks were already gone by the time the Cowboys had an opportunity. So hopefully new defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, the mighty Quinn, will be able to work with these guys. He'll certainly have a lot of options. And I saw one analyst say that the message this sent, these 6 draft picks going defense, was apparently, and I agree with it, sending a message to the guys currently on the Cowboy defense that no jobs are secure. You guys were god-awful a year ago, and none of your jobs are secure. You better fight and prove that you're ready to contribute to this defense in OTAs and in training camp.
Yeah, if none of them realized that going into the draft, they certainly do now, because there's no reason that anyone on that D-line should be handed their job immediately following what they did last year.
Coming up, your high five play of the day. Something very, very cool happened at a Major League Baseball game over the weekend. And you got to love how this Major League Baseball team responded to a request via social media. And it wound up being one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time at a baseball park. We'll talk about that coming up on the high five play of the day. Also coming up, we'll tell you about a new contest coming up later in the show. It's going to be your opportunity to win tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas on May 23rd. We'll preview that for you a little bit later. Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays. We'll take a look at Dave Ayler's very cool t-shirt, see how Dave's weekend went. A little bit later in the show, Andy Everett. Your phone calls along the way, 800-707-9760. We review the draft. We'll talk some Aaron Rodgers. Whole lot more coming at you. It's the Chris Duel Show. Tracy Bogert, what is up? Yeah, Tracy, I saw, and I love Mayor Ron Nierenberg. You know that. And I have had him on the show a lot over the years. But with the show also going to Austin, it's a little bit more difficult, for a San Antonio audience. If you bring on the Austin mayor, well, I don't rule it out. It's just, it's less of a big deal for Austin listeners than it is for San Antonio listeners. But what I do love about Ron Nierenberg, I love a lot of things about Ron Nierenberg. but he is very sports savvy, and he kind of gets it when it comes to sports in this town. So we might grab him at some point. But yeah, he is. I love that he was reelected. I love that he avoided a runoff with that other dude. So that was cool. All right. Do I need coffee? I have coffee. Do I need to heat it up? Interesting, Tracy, that you're back to being Tracy, the participant formerly known as Pendejo. So, Shannon, on this high five, you want to just kind of go back and forth through the thread and just kind of go back and forth and describe it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I love it. And I love that we got an update.
I think it's cool. I'll find it, and I'm going to go grab some coffee. All right. right.
I fixed the Pearson audio.
Oh, super. Thank you. Yeah, Shannon, he said he fixed the Drew Pearson audio, so assuming we'll have time after high five, we might play it. Okay, let me find that. Jason Paniagua, good morning. John Williams, Clint Proctor, Wes Perkins, Laura Burris, Luisa Alanis, Hector Gomez. Good morning, everybody. Here we come. Welcome back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon B. Sweeney and Soundscape stylist Dave Ayler. Before we go to our high five play of the day, and oh, by the way, we will effort to bring you the Drew Pearson audio from the NFL draft in just a few minutes here as well. Dave Ayler, you rarely disappoint when you bust out your concert band T-shirts, and you're coming online right now on Metal Shirt Monday on your On your graphic there, you chose a pretty cool T-shirt this morning.
It's Iron Maiden from 2017 tour right here. Saw it at the AT&T Center from the Book of Souls tour in 2017.
Nice.
Got a version of Eddie that looks like I think it was like a Mayan priest or something.
My goodness.
That's what their whole stage was, looked like a Mayan temple.
Very cool. How many times have you seen Iron Maiden?
3 times. Twice at AT&T Center and once when I was in college way back in St. Louis in like 1990.
Woo! Very nice. I think Bill and Ted were into Iron Maiden on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
As they should be.
Yeah, as they should be. I think that was one of their favorites. I see on Facebook Live, Taro Kotani has just joined us, the greatest international Spurs fan. In fact, tomorrow morning on the show, Taro Kotani is going to join us. It's our 6 o'clock hour is the 8 p.m. hour in Tokyo, Japan, Shannon. And Taro wants to come on and talk a little Spurs. And since he is the greatest international Spurs fan, I figured we should talk to him tomorrow about 6:15. Assuming you're here tomorrow, Shannon, you've got something coming up today.
I would 100% love to be here. Of course, I have my shot tomorrow, and as we know, that could go one of 2 ways.
Your shot number 2, Pfizer, correct?
Pfizer shot number 2, 2:30 this afternoon.
I wish you the best.
Thank you.
It can go either way. I have a good friend who had absolutely no reaction to Pfizer shot number 2. And I know a guy named Chris. I know him real well. I'm with him 24/7, who couldn't get his head off the pillow for about 24 hours after the shot. So
we've heard people say, "Oh, you get a bad reaction if you're healthy, and if you're not, then you don't get a reaction." So I'm like, do I want a reaction?
Oh, so is that the deal? You get a reaction if you're healthy?
That's one rumor I've heard.
I'll take that.
Body hasn't had to, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I just know I don't want to feel bad.
Yeah, I have a feeling you are going to kick shot number 2's butt, and you're going to be absolutely fine.
Do the arm windmill thing, right?
Exactly. Bring it on, Pfizer shot number 2. Very cool. Well, we have a very, very cool high five play of the day. Let's go ahead and hit that high five music. Thank you very much, Dave Ayler. The high five play of the day. We do this every morning at this time because there's just not enough good news and good stories out there. So we make it a point to high five a great story and some great people who are generating that great story. And if you don't know by now, Shannon will tell you the namesake of high five play of the day.
Yes, high five, 2 Austin area locations, one out in Lakeway, one right in Central Austin on Anderson Lane. And it's Monday. So that means you get a Chef's $5 weekly burger. Also, happy hour, 4 to 6 half price starters and cocktails. So an awesome place to head. I mean, my favorite food item of all time is a burger. So you put on a burger special, you've got me there. So make sure you head over to High Five. I'm not sure what the weekly burger special is quite yet, but you could go and then send me a tweet. Let me know because I love me a good cheeseburger. Chris, you found this story for us. Sent it to me yesterday afternoon, and I read the entire thread. It's incredible. We actually have it up on our Twitter pages now on AM1300 and Ticket because it is so awesome. We'll take you through it right now. Chris, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, and if you click on this thread, you can just work your way through it, and we recommend that because it's kind of fun. A guy by the name of Connor Buckley, who is on Twitter at Buck Army. They live in Arizona, and his roommate was on a date, his second date with a woman at the Arizona Diamondbacks game on Saturday night. So he tweets to the Diamondbacks early in the game, "Hey, Diamondbacks, my roommate is on a date 6 rows above home plate. Any chance we could tell the cameraman to zoom out a bit so I can see what's going on or how it's going?" I guess he's watching on television. So the Diamondbacks tweet back to him going, "What's he wearing? Now we're curious." So Connor, a.k.a. Buck Army, says he's wearing a red Diamondback spring training T-shirt, and I think the girl is wearing green. I really hope he didn't lie about the seats. And then so the Diamondbacks go, "Hate to break it to you, but we can't find your friend." So then this guy, Buck Army, tweets a map as to where they're located seating wise, and he says third base side, and then so the Diamondbacks tweet back and say we found him. So Shannon, this goes back and forth and it gets a little more interesting.
Yeah, so they finally find him, as you said, and they stick with it. I mean, they are there throughout the entire game. In fact, at one point, the couple get up from their seats and I guess either go to the restroom or go hit the concession stand because the Arizona Diamondbacks say, oh, they're getting up, so we're losing eyes on the subject. And then a few minutes later, they're back in all caps, and Buck Army still following along. He's so excited. I guess, I don't know what he was doing. Yeah, I guess he didn't have a date that night. That he was so invested in his roommate. But then later, and shortly thereafter, when they're back, I guess they start noticing that the camera is pointing at them an awful lot because the roommate who was on this date texts Mr. Buck Army and says, ha, 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 you're a bleep.
Yes, starts with an A.
So Mr. Buck Army knows that they've been caught. So the Arizona Diamondbacks go ahead and throw this couple on the Jumbotron at the game. At this point, everyone is loving it. Everyone is involved. Absolutely a fantastic story. And Chris, even though the game is over, we still have news coming from this couple and the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, so after the game, the Diamondbacks tweet, but the question on everyone's mind is there going to be a third date? And so they tweet out a photo of this couple. Oh, by the way, yeah. And then before that, they gave them autographed game-used baseballs. So the photo that the Diamondbacks tweeted out that you see all over Twitter and the internet today is this couple seated in their seats with these autographed game-used baseballs by the Diamondbacks. So they ask Buck Army, is there going to be a third date? And he shows a screenshot of asking his friend, is there going to be a third date? And his friend says, I can confirm there will be a third date. May need to talk to my roommate about boundaries going forward. But in all seriousness, thanks. Oh, he's writing back to the Diamondbacks. Thanks, you guys, for giving us an unforgettable night. The Diamondbacks will forever have my heart. Very cool.
So no pressure, you guys, on keeping this love story going because now everyone in the world seems to be invested. But how cool would that be if they did get married down the line and this is their origin story?
Well, and I love, and I think this is something that other pro franchises hopefully will take notice of, just the responsiveness to social media and the Diamondbacks, whoever's running their Twitter account, having the presence of mind to respond to this guy once they realized this was a real thing. And even Bally Sports Arizona jumped in, the equivalent of Bally Sports here in Texas, that runs the Spurs games and the Dallas Mavericks games, now formerly Fox Sports and Fox Sports Southwest down here. They jump in on it saying, hey, keep this going. We're curious. So it became a thing on the telecast on Bally Sports Arizona, and it became a thing ultimately, as you mentioned, Shannon, in the stadium when they put them on the Jumbotron. So just a fun sidelight to the game, a human interest story. I mean, who can't relate to being on a first or a second date and hoping it goes well? And I think this went about as well as it could go.
Yeah. So ultimate high five to the Arizona Diamondbacks, that roommate, and then this couple for playing along, because if it was me, I would have been very uncomfortable with the camera just not going away and having to piece together why.
Yeah.
Imagine taking to Twitter and there's an entire conversation going on about you and your date.
But go on a date to a baseball game, get on the Jumbotron and get all over social media and become an internet viral sensation.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And it's opening week for the Round Rock Express here. So if anyone needs any date ideas, I would suggest Thursday, opening day.
Yes. Speaking of which, we've got a special guest later in the week, correct?
Yes, Chris Almendarez, president of the Round Rock Express, will be joining us Wednesday morning. They are so excited. It's been over 600 days since they've last played a baseball game, but the Dell Diamond, of course, has hosted concerts and events leading up to this. They've done an incredible job keeping with social distancing, keeping everyone safe. So we're so happy for them to open their gates back up for what they're known for best, which is providing a great baseball atmosphere for the Austin and greater Austin area.
Yeah, and the Round Rock Express, what's so cool, and I envy the Round Rock Express living in San Antonio because, most recently the San Antonio Missions, our AA team, although they jumped to AAA, and I don't know if they're AAA this year or AA, but they've been affiliated with the Milwaukee Brewers, which is aight, but the Round Rock Express affiliated with the Astros. We've seen players like Yordan Alvarez and others really, really shine. You've seen players like Jose Altuve, when there's been an injury issue, kind of come down and play a little bit. Carlos Correa, some amazing Astros have played for the Round Rock Express, on behalf of the Astros. So should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And of course, now they're back with the Rangers as well as the Ryans. So they're back with the Rangers after a couple of years with the Astros. So kind of a new team again this year.
Yeah, but you're keeping it in Texas. See, I wish, and I don't know how you work out the deals. I don't know the specifics of it, but I just think, and it's smart for Round Rock to affiliate with either the Rangers or the Astros as they have, and. I just, it would be nice if San Antonio did that. I remember back in the day, in fact, I've cited it a couple times on This Day in Sports History. It was the Missions in San Antonio became the San Antonio Dodgers, like in the late 70s, early 80s. And it would be cool because sometimes Tommy Lasorda, the Dodgers manager at the time, would show up. But there were players like Fernando Valenzuela, who became a sensation at pitcher, came through San Antonio, as did another player who made a name for himself with the Dodgers back in the 80s, Steve Sachs. And others. So it was kind of cool if you're affiliated with a team that's really, really good. And at the time, the LA Dodgers, and they are now again, really, really good. That's a cool thing. But, and Jason mentioning the Missions are now affiliated with the Padres. Okay. Padres are very good, but I prefer the Astros and the Rangers. That's just me. All right. Do we have time? I think we do. Shannon, you brought up earlier, Drew Pearson, friend of the show, legendary Dallas Cowboys wide receiver. And Shannon and I were in the same boat. She was at a restaurant looking at a TV screen and couldn't hear the sound. I was in the middle of the Spurs broadcast in the Spurs studio with Bill Schoening and the Spurs game in my ear, but Drew Pearson at the NFL draft on the television and couldn't hear the sound. We'll hear the sound now. Drew Pearson does not disappoint, announcing the Cowboys' second pick on Friday night at the NFL draft. Here is the original number 88, Drew Pearson.
Thank you. I am honored to be here to represent the Dallas Cowboys and have this opportunity to announce the 44th pick in the second round. I'm also honored to be here in Cleveland, Ohio, home of one of the all-time greatest franchises in NFL football history. And I stand here tonight on the shoulders of many great Cleveland Brown football players like Jim Brown, Leroy Kelly, Bobby Mitchell, Dean Hickerson, John Woolen, Gary Collins, Dr. Frank Ryan, and the great number 42, Paul Warfield. As a kid growing up, the Cleveland Browns was one of my favorite franchises, favorite teams I supported. However, on behalf of the five-time world champion Dallas Cowboys, Hall of Fame owner Mr. Jerry Jones, Miss Jean Jones and the Jones family, head coach Mike McCarthy, all those players that played before me, with me, and after me, and of course, the Cowboy Nation. With the second pick in the 44th pick in the second round, the Dallas Cowboys select defensive back from Kentucky, Kelvin Joseph.
Wow. Shannon, I think we need a new rule. Drew Pearson needs to announce a Cowboys pick at every single draft for the rest of his life.
Yes. I mean, he needs, if I ever get married, when they do the entrance into the reception, I mean, even if I don't have to get it on video or cell phone audio, can he please? I mean, he should announce everyday life.
Yes.
Can you get the news to do that?
I think we could work that out with Drew, by the way, for your wedding.
Brother.
Woo!
It was incredible. And for that guy who gets drafted with
yes.
that, I mean, talk about a memory you'll have forever.
the rest of his life. Kelvin Joseph, cornerback out of Kentucky. Yes. Hopefully he becomes a big deal because it's so much fun when you look back on a player's career, after they've been to the Pro Bowl a few times and then they often show draft night and that announcement. That's what we would be seeing. So, and now we really, really want Kelvin Joseph to become a great NFL player for the Cowboys. That way that Drew Pearson moment will live even bigger in Dallas Cowboys lore.
Well, in minutes before he gets the call from the Cowboys saying, hey, we're bringing you to Dallas. You're going to be a Dallas Cowboy. You're going to have a star in your helmet. Oh, and Drew Pearson's about to announce it. So
that's way cool.
So you can watch.
That's way cool. I hope he knew who Drew Pearson was. Because, we've had, who was the story the other day? The guy who didn't know who A-Rod was? Some player for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah. So
19 years old, yeah.
I'll assume Kelvin Joseph knows who Drew Pearson is.
They're
All right.
So you'd hope so.
Yes, exactly. Okay, coming up, we in the 7 o'clock hour, we'll tell you we got a contest coming up, the Grand in Your Hand contest at 7:20. We will also tell you about the contest where you can win tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas. That's coming up later in the show as well. Shannon Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're with you till 9. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Good morning, Beth Settle. Warren Wheeler, good morning. Lucinda Sullivan, good morning. Clint Proctor. We mentioned Taro Kotani from Tokyo. Taro on the show tomorrow at 6:15 in the morning, which will be 8:15 p.m. in Tokyo. Mike Piazza was with the Missions. But they were called, it's interesting, the Missions have this logo now that says something like since 1888, which yes and no. I mean, they were called the San Antonio Dodgers for a number of years. I don't mean to go all technical, Jason, but I'm just saying. Warren Wheeler, good morning, sunshines. Good morning to you as well. Lucinda Sullivan with the coffee emoji. I am guzzling coffee. 2 hours and 48 minutes of sleep last night, according to my Fitbit. Thank you, Spurs. Tonight, the Spurs game, tip-off at 9:10. I will, if I'm lucky, get out of the studio at 12:30 a.m., and my alarm rings at about 3 in the morning. So if you think I'm punchy and stupid this morning, you just wait till tomorrow. Let's see. Yeah, Clint Proctor, Kenny Pennington has not been around lately. Don't know where he went. Okay. Wes Perkins, I see you sent me something about the second shot. It's hard for me to listen to audio in the studio, so I will check that out after the show in all probability. But thank you for sending that. And yeah, it's so weird. And Wes, you were one of the people warning me about the second shot, and you were right. I felt the effects. I didn't feel them till the next day. But by the next day, I could barely get my head off the pillow. So it was real for me, I'll tell you that. But all it was for me was just intense fatigue. There was like a minor little headache at one point, but not anything rough at all. It was mainly just intense, insane fatigue. But I'm still glad I got it, and you still feel good about it. And then once that passes, then you're really glad you got it. Yeah, Louisa, we talked about Sam Ehlinger a little bit very early in the show. That's one of the best places he could land. And I know Lucinda in here is an Indianapolis Colts fan. You know, Carson Wentz, as erratic as he is, if things don't work out well for Carson Wentz, Sam Ehlinger could be stepping up. Even if they work out well for Carson Wentz, I mean, that's a really good football team. And with Doug Peterson, an opportunity for Sam Ehlinger to really learn the position of quarterback and play on a team that's a legitimate Super Bowl contender, I believe, and certainly a playoff contender. So
we have his audio too, if we want to get into it.
Oh, good. Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
Reaction to
let's.
It's really just about him getting drafted. It's not specific to the Colts, but the fact that he got drafted.
Let's try to in this segment get to the Ehlinger audio if we can. I might talk a little Spurs. They had just a god-awful, gut-wrenching weekend. And then talk a little bit about the NASCAR 820. If we can get those three in, that'd be cool. Oh, Frank Reich. I said Doug Peterson. Frank Reich, the head coach of the Colts. Since they were both at Philadelphia together, I confused the two. My bad. But Frank Reich, same deal as a quarterback whisperer. Sam Ehlinger going to the Colts, playing under Frank Reich, I think is good for and clearly Frank Reich, who knows his quarter, saw something in Sam Ehlinger that he liked and thought he could develop. So that's kind of a big deal. So yeah, we'll talk about that. Lucinda Sullivan, a Colts fan, says, I was happy with the pick. Cool. I see you got a request on Facebook to play some Flight of Icarus sometime this morning. Okay. That's from Jason Paniagua. Jason, Dave says he'll work that in. Say that again? I do believe so, yes.
Oh, and congratulations, Wes. And Clint on the Tech victory over Texas. They won that series this weekend. First 3-string loss for Texas following that loss last weekend, and the first 2 against Tech. But they got Tech last night.
Did Texas lose the game where they got the grand slam? Because I saw somebody retweeting the grand slam video.
They probably won that one. They won the last one.
Okay.
And they had to finish game 2 yesterday beforehand.
Clint Proctor saying that was an Omaha preview. Yeah, Wes, thank you for sending me that information. I will check that out later after the show. Here we come. Hour number 2 goes a little bit something like this.
This is the Chris Duel Show. You know the day. Now, Chris Duel.
The Monday after the NFL draft, the first Monday in May, Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, including the Salty Shakedown, coming up a little bit later this hour, right around 7:40. Thank you for joining us. Dave Ayler, donning his Iron Maiden t-shirt, is your Soundscape stylist. You can join the show a number of ways. You can do it the old-fashioned way. You can dial us up on the phone line if you wish. 1-800-707-9760. Oh, by the way, you're going to want to keep that phone number because that phone number will tell you in a moment could be your key to scoring some tickets in the 8 o'clock hour to the NASCAR Cup Series race at the Circuit of the Americas on May 23rd. We'll get into that in a second, but just remember that phone number, 1-800-707-9760. We will talk NFL draft. We will talk San Antonio Spurs, a lost weekend for the Spurs, 2 gut-wrenching losses both very uniquely gut-wrenching in the way the Spurs lost those games. Speaking of the NBA, LeBron James, his Lakers possibly falling into the play-in tournament zone, which means 7, 8, 9, or 10. So all of a sudden now LeBron James is poo-pooing the play-in tournament. We'll get into that. In fact, he uses a term that some use for poo-poo. We'll get into, we won't play you that actual word that he uses, but you can figure it out. Aaron Rodgers digs in. It's getting uglier. The relationship between Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. And Shannon, let's go ahead and jump and just mention this now. We got 2 contests we are running. One we've been running for a couple of weeks now. It is the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. In fact, we're going to do that again in about 11 minutes at 7:20. We do that every morning at 6:20 and 7:20. However, starting today at 8:20 for the first time, you're going to get a chance to score some tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas, May 23rd, and we're already into May. So, Shannon, that race is just 20 days away, less than 3 weeks away.
Yeah, all you have to do is head over to Ticket or the Zone's website and sign up for those newsletters. Those newsletters are great because they provide you insightful links as well as a link to our show podcast. If you ever miss a minute, you can go and check that out there. And also great stuff like this, incentives. We've got a keyword in there for you all this week. So make sure you sign up today so you can get the keyword today for tomorrow's contest. But if you do already get those newsletters, that keyword is in your inbox, and we will be asking, I believe, 8:20 for people to call in, give us that keyword, and 2 tickets to NASCAR. I believe the first time NASCAR, definitely in Austin. I don't know about Texas, but it's going to be incredible. That track is amazing. You don't understand how big those tracks are until you're standing on one and you feel so small. I will certainly be tuning in to watch that series. It's always fun too when something happens near or in your hometown where you're like, I've been there before.
Very, very cool. Yeah. Normally you got to go to Texas Motor Speedway to get your NASCAR fix. Now it comes to Austin at Circuit of the Americas. So, and as Shannon described, and just remember, in case you haven't signed up for that newsletter yet, it's a 2-step process. In the newsletter, which goes into your inbox each day, we're giving you the keyword for the next day. So if you've got the keyword at 8:20, we're going to tell you when to call in. And the 5th caller, when we tell you to call in at 8:20, is going to score those tickets. We're going to do that all week. And I think maybe, do we know if we're doing it next week? You know more of this stuff than I do. Just this week.
That race is coming up.
Yeah, that's true. So we're going to do it all this week. And we're going to do it at 8:20 starting today. And not just for the keyword, although the keyword's going to be cool. That's a great newsletter. The Ticket 760 Insider and the AM 1300 The Zone Insider. It's easy. Go to the website, sign up. You get it. You get a lot of great information in there and a lot of great promos and prize opportunities like this one and more. Before we dive back into the NFL draft, Shannon and Sam Ellinger, I just have to mention what a rough weekend it was for the San Antonio Spurs, the way they lost. Friday night, they're at Boston, and at one point in the game, they take a 32-point lead on the Boston Celtics. Spurs up by 32. There's no way they're going to lose a game up by 32, right? Wrong. The Spurs blew a 32-point lead. That was the largest lead they have blown in franchise history. The Boston Celtics come from behind to beat the Spurs 143-140 in that game. It was just absolutely stunning. We Googled it. The largest lead blown in NBA history was 36.
Oh, so close.
That's how they should have at least let the Celtics get a 37-point lead. So we could have made total NBA. So that, I mean, my God, what a horrible way to lose. Then last night, because the Spurs are playing 5 games in 7 nights, starting last night, the Spurs' second half of their season just totally backloaded. So Pop last night gave DeMar DeRozan the night off. DeJounte Murray has an ankle issue, so he took the night off. Jakob Poeltl, Pop rested him last night. And Derek White is out extra. So Derek has the ankle. It was a knee issue, a minor knee issue with DeJounte Murray. So those 4 guys are starters. Spurs had 4 starters out of the lineup. They take on the Philadelphia 76ers. You would have thought the Spurs would lose that one by 32 points, but no, they hang in all night with the Sixers. They have a chance to win it in regulation. They can't. They go to overtime at 107-107. They wind up losing a game in a gritty performance. Totally undermanned. The Sixers were at full strength last night. They now have the best record in the Eastern Conference, and the Spurs play very, very well, but not good enough, and they lose in overtime last night to the Philadelphia 76ers, 113-111. So they lose Friday night by 3 after leading by 32. They lose last night by 2 in overtime, totally undermanned. You could argue they had no business being in the game, but what I liked about last night, Shannon, was they fought hard and they never gave up. It was like they should have gotten their butts kicked last night by the Sixers, but they fought, could have won it in regulation, could have won it in overtime, but did not. So now all of a sudden, the Spurs with 9 games left, and you look at their schedule, it's like 2 against Utah. They close out with 2 against Phoenix. It's a really tough final 9 games of the season. I think New Orleans is now 3.5 games behind the Spurs. It's now getting a little interesting for that number 10 slot. They look, if they can win a couple of games, they look good to at least get the 10 slot and get the play-in tournament one way or another. But now they've lost 3 in a row and 2 in a row coming up against Utah. If they lose the next 2, it might be time to grip a little bit if you're a Spurs fan.
Yeah, Utah currently is sitting in second in the West, and you mentioned the Suns currently first in the West. It's interesting that Philadelphia was going full force last night with they've already clinched a playoff spot and currently sitting in that first place. I guess they're wanting to stay there at this point and maintain that home seed advantage. But yeah, I guess you could take that moral victory away if you're a Spurs fan and seeing how well they can hold things down without those key players, but at this point in the season and where they stand right now in the standings, last week it was almost seeming like the Pelicans would be out of this. Right?
Yes.
It would just at this point be where everyone would fall within the top 10, but that top 10 was set. And now with this slide, it's a little, like you said, it's a little nerving as a Spurs fan right now. Of course, as a Mavs fan, like I'm chilling at the 5 seed right now, so I'm cool.
Now, the Lakers keep losing. Lakers have lost 3 in a row. They've won 3 of their last 7. They've lost 7 of their last 10. Lakers now in a virtual tie with Portland. The Lakers are in the 6th slot, but they've got an identical record with the Portland Trail Blazers. So it is conceivable now that Portland could catch the Lakers. By the way, your Mavericks, same record as the Lakers and Portland, but you break that tie. Mavericks in the 5 slot right now ahead of the Lakers, even though they have an identical record with the Lakers. So now all of a sudden last night, LeBron James used he said the word, but he said it's BS. He said whoever came up with this BS play-in tournament should be fired. Can you imagine, Shannon, if the Lakers fall to the 7 or the 8, if they lose, so the way it works, 7 plays 8, just one game. Loser of that plays the winner of 9 versus 10. Some people are now saying, what if the Lakers lose a 7 versus 8, and what if the Warriors win 9 versus 10, presumably against the Spurs? And what if in one game the Warriors punk the Lakers and knock them completely out of the playoffs? Can you imagine Adam Silver and the powers that be at the NBA if LeBron James gets knocked out because of this play-in tournament?
Well, I mean, that was the big story, right? When he went to LA and they didn't make the playoffs that year, right? It was like the first time in forever that LeBron wasn't going to be even in the finals. Interesting that, we've known about this play-in for some time now. It's just now that the Lakers have fallen to where they currently sit, which would have them in that play-in, is LeBron voicing his grave concern. Now, if it's somebody else's problem, then whatever. But now that I'm involved,
Yeah.
wait a second. I want my home court advantage. I want my best of 7. I want my moment in the spotlight. I get paid the big bucks to wear these logos during the finals and the playoffs. You need to give me that opportunity.
If you're a LeBron hater, you got to be loving this moment. So that's something to keep an eye on. All right. Moving back to the NFL draft, and we talked about Sam Ehlinger, we talked about all the Longhorns and where they wound up, Shannon, in the 6 o'clock hour. But the more that I think about Sam Ehlinger getting drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, you've got Frank Reich there, who was the guy at Philadelphia at the time, kind of a quarterback whisperer. And for those of you who know NFL history, it was Frank Reich who was a backup quarterback with the Buffalo Bills when the Houston Oilers played them in a playoff game. And it was something like 32 points. It was something crazy. Frank Reich led the Buffalo Bills to the biggest playoff comeback ever at quarterback against the Houston Oilers in what would have been Houston's chance to go to the Super Bowl back in the day. He's the guy who is credited with making Carson Wentz a Pro Bowl quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, of course, Frank Reich, the head coach at the Indianapolis Colts, they do a deal to get Carson Wentz, and now they draft Sam Ehlinger. So on 2 levels, Shannon, I think this is a good landing spot in the NFL for Longhorns quarterback Sam Ehlinger, in that, Carson Wentz has been very shaky lately. We don't know if he'll become the Pro Bowl quarterback he was when Frank Reich was at Philadelphia. And if he doesn't, if he's shaky, that could be good news for Sam Ehlinger down the line. And even if not, Frank Reich is a quarterback whisperer. This is a very good Indianapolis Colts franchise. I think it's better for Sam Ehlinger to begin his NFL career with a very good football team than with a bad football team that is dysfunctional, like the Jets have been, with all kinds of things going wrong. So I think Ehlinger may get an opportunity here. B, at worst, he's got a quarterback whisperer as a head coach. He can learn from Carson Wentz. And this Frank Reich guy sees something in Sam Ehlinger by virtue of the fact that he drafted him that he can work with and develop, I think.
Yeah, and you mentioned the shakiness of Carson Wentz. I mean, that's not just physically, because we know he's had injuries as of late, but also mentally, and that could provide some area for Sam to swoop in should one of those things go south for Carson.
In a moment, we'll hear Sam Ehlinger's thoughts about the draft, but right now it's 7:20. Speaking of contests, and don't forget, we got a completely different contest coming in 1 hour at 8:20 for that NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas. But right now, this contest, the Cash in Your Hand contest, a chance to win $1,000. You're going to get a keyword. You go to one of the websites you're listening to, AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. Grab this keyword you're about to hear, put it in the website, and you're in. You got a shot at $1,000. Here it is.
Now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Son. That's son. Enter it now.
Did he say son? So is it S-O-N or S-U-N? I have no idea. All right. What do you got, Dave Ayler? S-U-N. Okay, good. I didn't know. Can you imagine if you just put in S-O-N and would have won the 1,000 but spelled it wrong? That wouldn't be good. The favorite son of the Texas Longhorns, Shannon, for the last several years has been Sam Ehlinger. Such a good guy. And if you know his biography, and many of our listeners do, grew up, there are photographs of him as a kid, a toddler in Longhorns gear, holding a football. It's as if he was born to be a Texas Longhorn. His dad wanted him to be a Texas Longhorn. His dad passed away way too young and did not live to see Sam Ehlinger become the Longhorn quarterback that he became. And as we just discussed, now he is an Indianapolis Colt. And Shannon, you and I were very moved by hearing Sam Ehlinger's thoughts about this draft.
Yeah, and we've got that clip for you here. Just be warned that this is almost immediately following his draft. He had this media availability, so you will hear some phone buzzing because, of course, everyone's getting after him. It's probably the best day for him and his career so far, and those that know him.
To even be considered in the NFL draft is an unbelievable blessing and something that I've always dreamed of. From an emotional standpoint, I'm just so thankful. I know that very few people get to have this opportunity. So I told myself going into it that I wouldn't waste, any of this opportunity on any negative emotion, regardless of what that looks like. And so I'm just so thankful to be in this position, to play this great game and play at a professional level. I'm super excited to get a chance to continue to learn and play this great game. And it's something that I'll never take for granted, and I can't wait to make the most of it. Yeah, it was certainly a long time coming. Just happened to stay in the moment and enjoying the moment, realizing that I was waiting for my name to be called in the NFL draft. Something that very few people can say. Obviously, it's something that it can be very easy to let anxious emotions or nervous emotions or disappointment creep up on you. But that was nothing that came upon me. Luckily, I have incredible friends and family that were keeping me in the right state of mind, and it was something that was like, hey, this is such a once in a lifetime opportunity. Just make the most of it, enjoy it, and that's what I try to do.
Sam Ellinger, a 6th round draft pick this year to the Indianapolis Colts. And we were just talking about what a great situation the Colts as a whole seem to be for a guy like Sam. And then you hear him talk about his attitude and his mindset. That, along with the talents he already possesses, I think will do well for him in the NFL to show his talents. And, like you said, it's great that he's also going to a team that is most likely going to be a winning team. Because winning, as we know, changes a lot as far as perception. So maybe down the line, they see that in him and he gets a chance to either go elsewhere or maybe one day get that shot to play for the Colts. I'm sure we will see him in preseason this year, but now only 3 preseason games. So I don't know. I hope he gets to shine there, though.
And Sam Ellinger, you mentioned 6th round draft pick, number 218 overall. Don't forget that Tom Brady was number 199. The more and more we think about that, Shannon, and they did that once again during the draft coverage on television. When they got to the 199th pick in the draft, they showed the draft moment of Tom Brady back in the day and Mel Kiper Jr.'s review of Tom Brady when he was drafted by the New England Patriots. And you just think of all of those NFL teams that passed on Tom Brady that had an opportunity to draft him time and round after round and did not. I'm not at all going to suggest that Sam Ellinger will have the type of career that Tom Brady does. But if you are a Sam Ellinger, if you are drafted at number 218, it is kind of nice to know that there was a guy once who went at number 199 who is now regarded as the greatest of all time. I think that certainly creates hope for a lot of players, including Sam Ellinger, where he was picked in this draft.
Yeah, all you need is a chance, and that's what the NFL draft is all about. So congratulations to Sam as well as Sam Cosmi heading to Washington, TQ aka Tyquan Graham heading to the Falcons, Joseph Osai to the Bengals, Caden Stearns to the Broncos, and undrafted free agent Brennan Eagles gonna try out to be Cowboy.
And I'm willing to like him even though his name is Eagles.
He's got a cool thing going, like on Twitter he's always doing a little eagle emoji.
All right, that's cool.
And he's good. He's good guy. Good.
So how many total? 6? How many total Longhorns got drafted?
5 total drafted, and then Brennan Eagles was the 6th in the draft and was signed as an undrafted free agent.
All right.
So he gets his shot too.
So that'll be cool if he can make that Dallas Cowboys roster. Going to be tough with all those wide receivers. But the guy we heard from earlier in the show, Drew Pearson, was an undrafted free agent from Tulsa. So it happens. And by the way, when Drew Pearson caught on with the Cowboys in 73, they were coming off a Super Bowl championship on January 16th, 1972, just about a year and a few months earlier. So it's not like Drew Pearson, an undrafted free agent, made a Cowboys team that was hurting for wide receivers. He fought his way onto that roster. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, along with this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. 8 o'clock hour, we'll check in with Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA athletics and our golf guru. By the way, UTSA had their spring game over the weekend. We'll see if Andy gleaned any gems from keeping an eye on that. Lots coming up. Dave Ayler wearing the Iron Maiden t-shirt is your Soundscape stylist. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Little Rolling Stones for you.
Hey, Dave. You saw that email with the information I need of our winner today?
Let's see. I think I'm going to grab some more coffee.
There's an email about the NASCAR. I think you were CC'd on it, and I just listed all the information I'll need from them. If you could send me that info so I can get them in. Yeah, pretty basic. We just need to make sure we get all of it so I can get it into the system for them. Yeah, and if you could also tell them, it's also in the email that once I have their information that I put into the system, they're going to get an email from Promo Suite from KBET AM, and it might go to their spam or junk, but they need to click on it and then sign the forms because that will release their prize to them since we're doing everything online. Yeah, I'll send out an email later this morning, so they should look for it today. Yes.
$708.
I'll send the email out. I'm going to send an email over to you just with what I need. And then if you want to respond to that this week with the winner's info, that'd be perfect. We can keep it all in one. Yeah, because we're going to have a winner every day.
All right, I'm getting coffee. I'll be right back. John Williams, I did check that. Very cool. John McGee, good morning. I need coffee. Woo! 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 I need a mask. Where's my mask? Found my mask. Be right back.
at Flight of Icarus coming back.
Thank you. Jason Paniagua, if you're there, Flight of Icarus by your request is coming. Let me see here. There it is. Flight of Icarus by Iron Maiden, not just because your soundscape stylist, Dave Ayler, is wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt that you can see if you're joining us on Facebook Live or via YouTube or via Twitch, but regular listener and participant Jason Paniagua requested that bumper music, and we aims to please whenever we can give you what you want. We try to give you what you want, and that's what Jason wanted. So there you have it. All right. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown is moments away. Before that, sports birthdays and this day in sports history. May 3rd, on this day in 1910, the Intercollegiate Athletic Association of the United States is renamed the National Collegiate Athletic Association, or the NCAA. Got its name today. This day in 1936, New York Yankee Joe DiMaggio makes his major league debut. He got 3 hits for the Yankees. Not nearly as impressive as his, I believe, marriage to Marilyn Monroe. I mean, I'm more at Joe DiMaggio. You're a great baseball player, but you married Marilyn Monroe. Dude, you won. Born on this day in 1961, Warren Spahn of the Milwaukee Braves pitches a 2-hitter after previously pitching a no-hitter. So he pitched a no-hitter, and in his next game, a 2-hitter. Warren Spahn was en fuego on this day in 1961. On this day in 1977, with the first pick in the NFL draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Ricky Bell from USC. Woo, woo, fight on. On this day in 1980, Texas Rangers pitcher Ferguson Jenkins becomes the 4th major league pitcher to win 100 games in both the American League and the National League. And finally, May 3rd, on this day in 2018, Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan becomes the NFL's first $30 million a season player after agreeing to a $150 million contract extension. And Shannon, what blows me away about that is that was just 2018.
And it's like chump change now.
It's chump change. And here in 2021, 3 years later, in this draft, you had all these people going, is it time to move off of Matt Ryan? Should the Falcons be drafting a quarterback? It's like so quickly the landscape changes. And you're right. It's like, yeah, 30 million. Come on. Dak wanted 40.
Loser.
Yeah, loser. Yeah, it's like, I think Mahomes has 42 or something. All right. That's this day in sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1921, May 3rd, 1921, a guy named Walter Smith. Walter Smith would change his name to Sugar Ray Robinson and become an American middle and welterweight boxer. Won championships in 1946 through 52, 55, and 58. Sugar Ray Robinson was born in Ailey, Georgia. He died in 1989. Born on this day in 1946, American sportscaster and little brother of Bryant, Greg Gumbel. Born in New Orleans, Louisiana, in 1946. Born on this day in 1963, American basketball player, Phoenix Suns, Utah Jazz, Jeff Hornacek, born in Elmhurst, Illinois. Born on this day in 1977, NBA basketball player and coach. In fact, NBA championship head coach, coaching the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016, Tyronn Lue, born in Mexico, Missouri. I didn't even know that was a city or a town. Mexico, Missouri. Where were you born? Mexico, Missouri. I got to Google that someday. Finally, born on this day in 1990, Andy Everett will be proud. American golfer Brooks Koepka, born on this day in 1990. That means he's 31 now. U.S. Open champion 2017, 2018, PGA champion 2018, 2019. Brooks Koepka was born in West Palm Beach, Florida, which means he was probably born into some money.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. West Palm Beach is little she.
Yeah, the golf.
Tough life for Brooks Koepka, but he made the best of it. He's doing all right. There you have it. Sports birthdays. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, and farm animals, you've been waiting for it. Here it is, your Salty Shakedown.
Once again, this week's Salty Shakedown brought to you by Good Stock by Nolan Ryan. Head over to am1300thezone.com. Contest to enter the Salty Shakedown Sizzling Summer Tailgate Contest. The Good Stock Tailgate Pack is the perfect choice when you're hosting a game day tailgate at the stadium or watch party in the comfort of your own home. Hand-selected variety of popular Good Stock steaks, such as Angus ribeyes, Angus strips, Angus fillets. And by the way, this package includes 2 extra aka free fillets. So get over to am1300thezone.com and enter to win. And if you head out to Round Rock Express opening week this week, make sure to check out Good Stock. It's just down the street from the Dell Diamond. All right, starting today off with what has to be in the running for weirdest MLB injury of the season. This one goes out to Oakland A's pitcher who fractured his pinky while playing video games.
Oh!
Yes, that's right. Jesus actually pitched on Saturday after this injury. He came in, his finger was a little sore. They looked at it. He warmed up in the cage. He came out. He pitched 3 innings. After the game, he went and got x-rays, only to find that he had apparently fractured his pinky while slamming his hand down on a table while playing video games. I can only imagine. I guess he was upset at his gameplay and slammed it down. Maybe he had the controller also kind of nestled in his hand so that, it got caught in between both the table and the controller. We don't know, A, if that's exactly how it happened, or B, what game he was playing. But unfortunately, he's now on the 10-day injured reserve list and could be out even longer because it's not only on his finger, his pinky finger, but it's on his throwing hand.
So Jesus, what was this guy's name again?
Oh, gosh. I've lost his.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
From the Oakland A's. I feel bad for this guy, man, because video games, as we know, so many athletes love to play video games. It's a great way to sit back and do your recovery. It's a great activity that typically doesn't get you hurt, right? They ask you not to go out and do crazy sports like skydiving, skiing, even for Patrick Mahomes' dunk contests. So this guy just getting ready for game day, sitting at home playing video games, and this is kind of the unthinkable and strange.
Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo.
Yes. I feel bad for him. I hope in his next contract they say you can't play video games because, again, it's typically something we all do, especially athletes during the season. I feel so bad for him. I hope this doesn't affect his career in the long
don't
run.
feel bad for him.
Recovery. You don't?
Dude,
he got too aggressive playing a video game, and
your hands are your money makers. You don't slam your hand on a table because you don't like how the game's going.
Yeah, well, and 2, I like, as we know, I play video games and typically just on the weekends, but every now and then you play for a long stretch. The tendons in your fingers, they need some stretching out.
Okay.
So I've had that happen, which is ridiculous too, but I've never been close to fracturing anything. And of course, my hands, I'd be okay if I fractured any piece of my hands for my job. But this guy on his pitching hand, I feel so bad for him. I feel for the A's.
You are more
Speak your
compassionate than I am. You are. I say, Jesus Luzardo, you got what you asked for, and I appreciate your compassion.
Would it make it worse if he was playing MLB The Show, which is, of course, the MLB video? Like, he's playing as himself, as he's almost like doing a preview of the game, right? He's playing the opponent that day. He's playing as himself, and he
Oh, that's
does something
beautiful.
wrong, and he sees it as foreshadowing, and then he goes and breaks. It's just crazy all the way around. So we'll be thinking of him, but everyone but Chris, because he thinks it's.
I know. I got to get a better attitude. I'm bitter.
Yeah.
Like my coffee.
And you know what's awful is that now he's on injured reserve. He can't really do anything, and he also can't play video games right now because.
Ooh, that's right.
Moving on to some fun and clothing and fashion news, because as everyone who watches Chris and I on our video feed knows, Chris and I, as well as our Metal Shirt Monday man Dave, are the fashionistas.
We're all about fashion.
Radio.
Mm-hmm.
The Mambasita line has officially been launched by Vanessa Bryant, of course, in honor of her daughter, Gianna, who sadly died in that helicopter crash with Kobe Bryant. Her 15th birthday would have been this past weekend, so they released the line. It is already completely sold out, thanks in part to the entire Warriors team showing up to their game this weekend, dressed in the garb. It's a tie-dye sweatshirt, sweatpant, look with the Mambasita written across the chest. Many celebrities, including Jimmy Kimmel, Reese Witherspoon, Kate Hudson, Kyrie Irving, and more, also sported the brand new getup that completely, again, sold out. And 100% of the proceeds are going to the Mamba and Mambasita Sports Foundation, which, of course, named in their honor. We heard a couple weeks ago that, they didn't renew the Nike deal. I don't know if this played any part in it, that maybe she was trying to also get the Mambasita line to be part of Nike, but there are apparently going to be more drops of the Mambasita line. I love that. People are wearing it. They're showing their support, and it's sold out. And tie-dye very in right now, Chris.
Yes.
Very in.
Well, and I'm being from the 60s, Shannon. I wore tie-dye to elementary school in the 60s.
There was a time in the 90s where tie-dye was a thing, and then I didn't get a tie-dye shirt until it was way overdue. But one of my favorites was like a burnt orange tie-dye.
It's kind of cool. I like it.
So it's cool that it's back. It's cool that they have this line, and that so many people are supporting it, and that it dropped on her birthday weekend. So be on the lookout for the Mambasita drop number 2. Should be coming soon since they just sold out. I don't know. Maybe they'll make more of the same. Maybe they'll go with something different. And it was available in all sizes, from children all the way to adults. And finally today, Chris, Stephon Diggs. We heard about his car found in Miami a couple of weeks ago, abandoned, left alone. And now we've got police video of them actually finding the car. One of the cops says, that's a $160,000 car, because, of course, it was a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon that was left abandoned, had a pop tire. The cops ended up having the car towed, and we now know that Stephon Diggs has gotten the car and gotten it fixed. But we also know that it was his friend who took his car out. Stephon Diggs, not even in the area at the time, got a flat tire and then ditched the car. No sane person, I think, would do that, for one, with any car, no matter how much it costs. But for this to be that expensive of a car, and it's not even your car, and then you just ditch it, you don't call AAA, you don't call a friend, you don't call a tow company, you don't call the police to help you out. I mean, what? I don't want to suspect that he was doing any wrongdoing, and so he was like, well, I don't want any. But you just leave it there in Miami, the middle of Miami, in the dirt? What's wrong with you?
To me, this screams wrongdoing. To me, this screams the driver of this car was drunk or impaired and did not want to be anywhere near the car when the car had an issue. Are we sure? And I saw this story when it broke, Shannon. Are we sure Stephon Diggs was not in the vicinity when this car went missing?
Yeah, he apparently was not even in Florida.
Okay.
And they even said, the car wasn't stolen, because I think that's the first thing you think of when you see a car of that nature found by the train tracks with a couple scratches and a burnt out tire, that maybe someone tried to hijack it.
Yeah.
And they didn't make it very far because of the tire, so they just ditched it. But nope, it was one of his friends, and I don't know if they're still friends. I don't think I'd still be friends with that person, because that's a pretty penny. I don't care how rich you are. We don't just leave $160 laying around.
No.
$160,000 laying around.
So see, my first thought was, it was Stephon Diggs. But you say apparently he's got an alibi and evidence to show he was not even, in the state at the time. I always go back to Chris Carter at the rookie symposium telling new NFL players you need a fall guy. So when I heard it was Stephon Diggs' friend who left this car and abandoned this car, I thought, okay, that's classic fall guy. Stephon Diggs was probably drunk out of his mind or high on something and abandoned the vehicle and got a friend to say, no, I did it. But if he's clearly got an alibi proving he was out of the city and perhaps out of the state, maybe it was not a fall guy situation. But I mean, even if you're that rich, do you let your friend drive your $160,000 Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon? I don't know.
Yeah, especially when you're not around. And when you get to that point where you're like, okay, there's a pop tire. What do? I wonder if he called Stephon. Because if I'm Stephon, I'm mad that he just left my car.
Oh, hell yes.
Out in the middle by a train track. Like, what if it was on the track? Then there would be no more car.
Yeah.
At that point. So that's just one of those interesting off-season stories. Stephon Diggs, of course, a wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, who during the draft, the Vikings kind of took a stab at him, the Vikings owner, and Stephon still very much has the Vikings on his mind because he responded on Twitter talking about how much they kind of needed him and that it was the owner's fault that he was no longer being successful in the Vikings country, but that he's playing really well with the Bills. I think he has the best numbers for a receiver the first year on their new team. And rightfully so. I mean, Josh Allen lit it up last season, and I'm sure the duo will be back at it again this season, especially the Bills now. I mean, they went heavy on defense too. They kind of did the Cowboys thing and tried to fix their weaknesses. So they should make another good playoff run this year. I'm excited for them. Of course, my neighbor Mitch Moore is the center for the Buffalo.
That's right.
I'm always happy to see the Bills do well, especially when the Cowboys aren't. It's good to have a backup team when you're a Cowboys fan.
Speaking of the NFL draft, and we talked a lot about it in the 6 o'clock hour, Shannon, but we didn't get into this yet. The Houston Texans, they didn't draft until the third round, number 67 overall. And they draft a quarterback. I guess I get this quarterback, Davis Mills, out of Stanford. He certainly wasn't one of the quarterbacks we were all talking about going into this draft, but you can certainly see from this using their first pick, which doesn't come until round 3, that it is time to move on from Deshaun Watson, and they're hoping maybe they strike gold with Davis Mills, the Stanford Cardinal quarterback.
Well, and you sent me a graphic over the weekend where now that the 2021 draft is out of the way, we're ready for 2022. And people are now suggesting Spencer Rattler, of course, the current Oklahoma quarterback, could be heading to the Texans next season. So,
yeah, I couldn't believe that. I'm
makes sense. It adds up.
Yeah, I'm cruising like the day after the draft. I'm cruising Instagram, and here it is, our mock draft for 2022. It's like, are you kidding me? But yeah, Spencer Rattler was the number 1 overall pick to the Texans, which means a couple of things. Number one, they're expecting Spencer Rattler to have a great breakout year for the Oklahoma Sooners. I hope that doesn't happen just because I don't like the Oklahoma Sooners. And secondly, and I kind of agree with this, they're expecting the Houston Texans to have the worst record in the NFL this year, which I think is a good bet.
Yeah. They used to be able to kind of lean on their conference, Jacksonville Jaguars, to kind of, get some dubs there. But I think Jacksonville gonna perform much better than they have in recent years past with the addition of Trevor Lawrence. His I believe they paired him up with his running back buddy, right?
Yes, Etienne, Travis Etienne.
As well as, that new head coach, some guy named Urban Meyer. I think they'll be all right.
I can't wait to see how that works out. I have a feeling it's going to work out well. But as we mentioned, the Indianapolis Colts, of course, in that division, probably the favorites going into the season to win that division. And now, of course, we talked about him and we heard from him, Sam Ehlinger, a member of that Indianapolis Colts squad. Very, very cool. Coming up, it is the 8 o'clock hour. We'll talk more NFL and NFL draft. We'll talk more NBA, Spurs. Got to talk a little Aaron Rodgers. We heard more over the weekend. Aaron Rodgers really digging in, saying, I do not want to come back to the Green Bay Packers. Where will Aaron Rodgers land? Some people saying the Denver Broncos we'll talk about that. And a very interesting stat on the NFL draft that we'll get into as well. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris with you till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. Shannon, I just sent you an email just asking you the question. If you are out tomorrow, let me know how you want me to handle the salty shakedown given the sponsor. You know, I can either reference it, I could do a salty shakedown without Shannon and then do the sponsor. However you want me to do it, I'll do it. But just as a backup, since there's a sponsor, let me know how we should approach that. Chris Gonzalez, good morning. Jason Garcia, good morning. Mexico, Missouri, in the middle of Mexico. Never heard of it, man.
I need their physical address too. Yep.
Let's see. I think I've got enough beverage for the next segment. Louisa, I did not see that full interview with Becky Hammon. I need to see it. I saw clips of it before it dropped, but I did not see the full interview. I would like to see it. I did not know that it happened. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but they released clips in advance of it. I'll go look for it, Louisa. Thanks for the reminder. With the draft and everything, I've so many things like that I kind of missed. So thank you. I'll go look for that later today. It is the 8 o'clock hour on the Monday after the NFL draft. I just salivated again. I'm like Pavlov's dog, man. I hear that draft jingle, and I know a pick is in, and I salivate. It's crazy. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler is your soundscape stylist. In fact, Shannon, we should mention this again because it's new. At 8:20, it'll be Dave Ayler answering the phone line. You will need to know this phone number. We'll tell you again in a few minutes at 8:20, but we'll go ahead and give you a little preview. It's 800-707-9760. And Shannon, since it's new, fill in the blanks in case I get any of this wrong, because I'm learning it as well. We're going to do a giveaway all this week at 8:20. Your chance to win tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas on May 23rd. It's a big, big deal, and you can win tickets right here. But, Shannon, as you mentioned earlier, the way you get the keyword is to subscribe to our insider email newsletter, either via Ticket 760, go to that website, or AM 1300 The Zone. So it's either the AM 1300 The Zone insider email newsletter or the Ticket 760 insider email newsletter. And Shannon, do I have this right? You get the email one day, which gives you the keyword for the next day. Is that right?
Yes, sir. So if you sign up today, you will get the keyword for tomorrow, and those emails typically come out in mid to late afternoon. So always be looking in your inbox for those. They also include breaking stories.
Woo!
Today, all the things that tend to happen after Chris and I get off the air. Those will be included for you, so you can get a little head taste, a little teaser of what might be on the next day's show, as well as those keywords.
Very, very cool. So coming up at 8:20 for the first time, and we'll do it all week. at 8:20. Your chance to win. If you don't have that keyword for today, sign up for that newsletter either at AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760's website. Before we move on, Shannon, a couple of things. Dave Ayler, as you know, provides just a plethora of show prep, and I do appreciate it. So because of Dave Ayler, I now know that today is World Press Freedom Day. Today we celebrate freedom of the press, or as our former president calls the press, enemies of the people. So
say, don't we already have freedom of the press, but we're celebrating today?
Well, yeah, in this country, I mean, some places don't have it.
That's true. I wonder what you do to celebrate.
That's a good question. I guess you
Just publish all the articles.
Yeah, or
all
you
of them.
read something, or you tweet a member of the press and say thank you, maybe, or maybe not. Today is also National Teacher Day. Now that's
That makes more sense.
yes, I make fun a lot of these days, like National Screwdriver Day and some ridiculous ones. Teachers do not get nearly the credit and praise and the salary that they deserve. So amen to that one. National Teacher Day. So thank a teacher.
Yeah,
Do you have any-
especially a virtual teacher, because that's not easy.
Well, and you hear so many stories about teachers. I mean, pre-pandemic, first of all, they don't get paid nearly what they're worth. Secondly, you hear so many stories about teachers spending their own money to get more supplies for the classroom so the kids have what they need to learn. So it is a calling, and teachers are amazing, and we don't thank enough of them. I got two more via Dave Ayler. Today is National Paranormal Day. If you believe in ghosts, if you believe in the paranormal, today is your day. So say hello to your neighborhood friendly ghost, I guess. And finally, and this one I might make fun of, and I didn't know this is a thing, Shannon, today is National Two Different Colored Shoes Day. You're supposed to wear two different colored shoes to recognize and celebrate human diversity. I didn't know two different colored shoes was a thing.
I feel like socks would be easier, because unless you have the
Yeah.
exact same shoe in two different colors,
Yeah.
that's got to be hard to walk around in.
Yeah, because if you walked in, if one was like a dress shoe and one was a sneaker, that would be weird. I don't think I've ever worn two different colored shoes. Have you?
I like the I like the message.
So do I.
I just don't know about the execution.
Dave Ayler, these stories came from you, sir. Have you ever worn two different colored shoes?
Not that I remember, at least not sober anyway.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, socks. I've gotten socks wrong before. But
And then tomorrow,
And then tomorrow,
May the 4th.
May the 4th,
ooh,
and then
with you.
Wednesday.
I mean,
Cinco de
I've,
Mayo.
I've got plans. I've got plans.
Well, and are we doing the entire show in Espanol on Cinco de Mayo? Will we be ready yet?
Not unless the show's less than 5 minutes that day.
Yeah.
I'll run out of words before then.
Maybe we'll see how long we can go.
It'll be
You know-
hola and then adios.
Hola, adios. Yo necesito muchas cervezas. I got a few. Donde está la biblioteca? I could probably stretch it for 35 seconds, I think. And see, the goal is just stretch it for 3 hours. And when we lose our... Well, I totally forgot tomorrow is May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
So Dave Ayler, are you here tomorrow, Dave Ayler? You're here all week, aren't you? We think,
I think so.
unless something weird crops up. So we need some Star Wars music tomorrow.
Oh,
yeah.
I got that ready.
Woo.
I keep that ready just for that day.
I'll wear a Star Wars shirt,
Yes.
for which I have many.
And of course, Shannon, as we mentioned earlier, you are. We list you as questionable on the pregame
Forgetting.
list for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll probably text you tonight and let you know how I'm feeling. Hopefully it's fine, but you never know. I could wake up at 4 a.m. and not be feeling it.
Yeah. If you don't know what that is, Shannon gets her second COVID Pfizer shot this afternoon. It didn't hit me in a big way until the next morning. So I mean, even if you text me tonight when your alarm rings tomorrow morning, I think that'll be the big test. I got a feeling you're going to be fine, but
Yeah, I hope so.
I was not.
And for anyone like what Chris and I do, like it's not physically demanding, whatever, we have a lot of fun, but imagine like having to hold a 3-hour conversation when you feel like, especially a headache, whenever I get
Yes.
headaches.
When you can't lift your head off the pillow.
awful.
I remember I was looking at the clock on that Friday that I took off because it got me, and I could barely lift my head off the pillow. And I was looking at the clock, and the clock said like 6:05 a.m. And I was thinking, there's no way I could have possibly gotten into my car and gotten to the studio. And as you mentioned, the hardest part is carrying on a conversation for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see. And if you can't answer the bell tomorrow, no harm, no foul. I get it. I couldn't. So, we'll find a way, but hopefully you'll be here and we will have your answer. See, I feel weird mentioning because I don't want to discourage anybody from getting the vaccine. So I'm hesitant to say that it kind of got me with the second one. But I must tell you, even when I was down and out for a day in my bed with serious fatigue, I was glad I got it. And especially when you get through it, I'm still glad I got both vaccines.
I think it's fair to know and let people know that they could experience some of those side effects.
Yeah.
But I'd rather know going into it than be mad and surprised after the fact.
True.
But I do believe I'll get that sense of relief after getting that second shot.
Woo.
Just like I did after the first one. And I got it at HEB, and they're, instead of making you sit because they don't really have the space in there at their little pharmacy.
Yeah.
Like, just go walk around the store for 15 minutes, and if you feel fine, then you can leave. But don't.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'll just be, if you see me pacing the aisles of HEB later, just know I'm just waiting out my time.
Very nice. Yeah, I got mine at a CVS. They had little chairs there, so I sat down, and it was a cool. It was a quick. Both times at CVS, I got there early, and they said, "All right, let's do it." They were like quick.
Yeah.
So whereas when my mom got hers, we did it at the Alamo Dome, and again, they were handling thousands and thousands of people at the Alamo Dome. It took longer, but both they were enjoyable experiences. All right, I got to mention this stat to you, Shannon. You might have heard it because Clay Travis is ahead of us on the radio. That nationally, Clay Travis, and I'm not the biggest Clay Travis fan, only because after a while, like about the 4,000th time, he tells us how great he is and how great his show is, and nobody does topics like he does, and his show is blowing up. And by the way, buy his book.
Oh yeah,
and by the way,
morning's topic.
Yeah, subscribe to his insider thing and pay money per month so you can be first in line if you call. In between all of that, he gave a statistic this morning, and I am going to give credit to Clay Travis this morning. I give credit where credit is due, even to the self-aggrandizing, cocky, conceited, over-the-top Clay Travis. He had a stat. Did you hear when he said this earlier this morning, Shannon? 3 teams in the NFL have not drafted a quarterback since at least 1993. And one of them goes all the way back to in the first round, have not drafted a quarterback in the first round. 3 of them have not done it since 1993. One of them goes all the way back to 1971. And the 3 teams are the Seattle Seahawks, have not drafted a quarterback in the first round of the NFL draft since 1993. They drafted Rick Mirer, Mirer. That's, easy for me to say. I think he was out of Notre Dame. I think Rick Mirer played for Notre Dame. The second one, many of you may have guessed if you're Cowboys fans, the Cowboys have not drafted a quarterback since 1989. Number 8, I think you know who he is, Shannon.
Troy Aikman.
Troy Aikman, correct. Not since Troy Aikman have they drafted a quarterback in the first. Because they got Romo, but even Quincy Carter was not a first-round quarterback. But the mind-blowing statistic, the team that has gone the longest since drafting a quarterback since 1971, 50 years ago, they've gone 50 years without drafting a quarterback in the first round. The New Orleans Saints. And it was a guy by the name of Archie Manning. That's right, the dad of Peyton and Eli Manning. They drafted Archie Manning in 1971, 50 years ago. He would see his son, Peyton, go on to a Hall of Fame career and win a Super Bowl or 2. And then Eli win 2 Super Bowls. And Eli, I predict will get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame because of 2 Super Bowls and the New York Giants, big market team. To me, that blows my mind that the New Orleans Saints, since Archie Manning in 1971, have not drafted a quarterback in the first round of the NFL draft.
Yeah, I didn't hear this stat this morning. I kind of had the Patriots in my head and maybe even the Packers, but
Yeah,
that is quite the interesting, and the Cowboys on there.
right. And you would think, well, and I guess
we're just so used to the Browns drafting a quarterback year after year after year that we're like, everybody does it. Everyone gets the quarterbacks. They're always big names going into the draft.
that is absolutely crazy. Even 1993, this is 2021. So that's 21 plus 7. That's 28 years. You would think each one of those teams at some point would take a shot in the first round, but they did not. Speaking of quarterbacks, and you mentioned the Packers, Shannon, Aaron Rodgers, it's the story that keeps on giving. First we heard, right after that loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Aaron Rodgers says, and I know we're coming up on 8:20, so in a second I'm going to jump right out of this. In fact, I'll tell you what, since we're like 18 seconds away from 8:20, we'll get to Aaron Rodgers in a sec. But since I want to do this on time, since it's the first time we're doing it this week, we're going to do it all this week at 8:20. As Shannon and I have been telling you this morning, and we even told you on Friday, your chance to win tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas this month. In fact, it's in 20 days on May 23rd. Right now, be the 5th caller number 5 to get to Dave Ayler at 210. And no, I'm sorry, the 800 number, 800-707-9760. Forget the first numbers I just gave you. 800-707-9760. Dial a 1 where necessary, which would be 1-800-707-9760. 5th caller with the correct keyword is going to win the tickets. And if you want the correct keyword for tomorrow, you need to be subscribed to either the Ticket 760 or the AM 1300 The Zone Insider email newsletter. Go subscribe at the website. You'll get the keyword today in your inbox, and you can do this tomorrow and hopefully win the tickets.
Call it the inside track.
The inside track.
Inside track.
Woo.
NASCAR race.
I like that.
I have to interject because my mom just left a message on our video that I did not mention that she was a teacher.
Whoa.
Recently retired. So thank you, Mom, for your years of service to the children's.
Amen.
And all the children's that you teached, and for teaching me. But thank you also for doing my laundry after I spilled spaghetti sauce on myself last night at dinner.
Now, what did your mom teach? What level and what types of teaching did she do?
Mostly 5th grade, did some 4th grade, and math and science was mostly what she covered.
Outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Way cool.
Oh, yeah.
Way cool. And if I were a teacher, I once, some friends of mine who were teachers invited me, and it was like middle school. I think it was 7th graders, invited me to like a career day. And it was at that time I was kind of transitioning from stand-up comedy into radio. And so I'm doing this career. I get up in front of these like 7th graders, and they start heckling me. They start like, "Oh, you suck." And it's like, if you're on a stand-up comedy stage and you get heckled, you can eviscerate the hecklers by making fun of their manhood, by
open at that point,
by saying that they probably have some compensation issues that they're trying to address. But so they were like 7th graders, and I'm a grown man, I'm an adult. I can't slam the 7th graders. It would be wrong. So I had to kind of take it. But my takeaway was from that day, and I told my friends who invited me to do that career day, I said, you have to deal with these kids every single 5 days a week, all day long. I would want to kill them. Their teachers deserve a medal or 20 medals and so much appreciation for. I don't know which would be worse, teaching middle schoolers or high schoolers, which think they know everything, or elementary school kids, just because they're really tiny and they've got all this energy, and I'm sure they have a hard time focusing. So,
yeah,
God bless your mom.
That's why I think people say 13-year-old girls are the worst, because they know where to poke the bear.
Yeah.
And because they're 13-year-olds, you can't eviscerate them in the way that you would if they were adult, because they are kids and you can't be that person that
Yeah.
yells at their child. Dang it.
I know.
The thoughts that go through your head.
Yeah, they got you. I mean, there's so many things you could say to them that could traumatize them for life, but you don't want to do that.
Big
So
mental note when they're older.
exactly. I'll look them up.
Hold
Go
that
find them.
grudge.
Say, hey, remember age 13 now that you're 21? I meant to tell you this. So anyway, I saw the phone lines light up, so that was cool. A lot of people called in, which we want to do. So if you want a shot at these tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series, Echo Park Automotive, Texas Grand Prix, Circuit of the Americas race on May 23rd. Sign up for the newsletter either at AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. You'll get a shot tomorrow. You'll get a shot all week at 8:20. Back to Aaron Rodgers for a moment, Shannon. More and more we are hearing now that Aaron Rodgers and his representatives are saying, no, 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 no. He does not want to come back to the Green Bay Packers at all, that he is willing now to sit out games, if not the season. And it's weird. Because of his attitude and his arrogance, I've kind of not been an Aaron Rodgers fan. However, when I look at what the Packers did, especially last year, selecting Jordan Love, a quarterback, and moving up in the draft to get him instead of a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers, or maybe an offensive lineman or someone who could help that team get better, I'm kind of oddly on Aaron Rodgers' side in this fight. I almost want to see Aaron Rodgers force the issue and force his way out of Green Bay. How often do you get an Aaron Rodgers? And for the Packers, you got 2 in a row. You got Brett Favre, then you got Aaron Rodgers. And you have one job, and that's keep him happy as long as he's performing like an MVP. And oh, by the way, as you mentioned last week, Shannon, he is the reigning MVP. I think Packers management really did him wrong here. So I'm in Camp Aaron on this. How about you?
I think at this point I'm in Camp Aaron as well. And I bet the NFL overall is in Camp Aaron as well, because what a shame it would be if we had to go an NFL season and you waste a year of Aaron Rodgers and his ability to play at that level, at that MVP level. I loved your idea last week of maybe him going to the Saints. That almost seems like you put him in there, and they are at least a shoo-in for the playoffs and a great contender to take on Tampa Bay. Of course, a division rivalry right there. I mean, that would be fantastic. 2 times a year we get to see Brady and Rodgers meet up, possibly 3 times. I can see the ratings now through the roof, especially after how last season ended. But yeah, come on, Wisconsin, you've had enough. Let him go. If he wants to go, let him go. Because now you're dragging this out, right? He's already going to be one of the greatest players ever for the Packers. You drag this out. You want him to feel when he finally does retire that he can come back there and be welcomed and be happy when he looks back on that career. And the way this is going right now, if you keep letting this go, he may just start disassociating himself with the Packers entirely.
And you got to believe Aaron Rodgers in the same way Tom Brady really proved a point when he left the Patriots. You saw how the Patriots performed without Tom Brady. I'll bet you Aaron Rodgers wants to see Jordan Love at quarterback for the Packers and to see how the Packers perform without Aaron Rodgers. Coming up, Andy Everett, who not only is our golf guru, but he is the voice of UTSA athletics. UTSA had their spring football game over the weekend. We'll get an eyewitness voice of the UTSA Roadrunners report on that and more from Andy Everett. Lots more coming up. We will check the voting in the poll question, your chance to grade the Dallas Cowboys' overall performance in this most recent NFL draft. Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist with the Iron Maiden t-shirt. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney, daughter of a teacher who deserves absolute appreciation, especially today on National Teacher Day. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Thomas V. Martinez is in Camp Green Bay. You can't have everything. We will see. All right.
Dave, did we get a winner? Okay, can you put it in Chris's ear who the winner is so we can announce him on the air? Thank you.
Yeah. Jason Paniagua. Very cool. Way to go, Jason. And I just see it says you won. I love it when one of our regulars wins. I'm glad you won something for all of your participation in the show.
NFL Draft 2022 officially set to take place in Vegas.
Whoa, is that breaking?
Adam
Cool.
Schefter 2 minutes ago.
Okay, let's have you announce that before we go to Andy. That's brilliant.
Man, if iHeart actually were to send us anywhere,
Wow. Yeah.
be like, yeah, we're gonna work the whole time covering the draft.
Work, work, work. Better check my text to see if Andy Everett's going to big time us again this week. Not yet. Yeah, Andy ghosted us last week. We'll see if he comes back this week. He did show up later in the week, like the next day. Okay, so Jason, we will congratulate you on the air coming back. Shannon will announce the next NFL draft. Then if Andy doesn't ghost us, we'll go to Andy Everett. AJ Green, welcome in. That's true.
Hey, Dave,
A
just
draft
mentioned
in
to get their
Vegas.
birthday.
Jason, as you can see from Shannon, we need your birth date to process your victory. Dave Ayler calling Andy. Looks like 2 weeks in a row. Andy usually calls us. It doesn't look like he's talking yet. Nope. Two weeks in a row, Andy Everett big times us. Last week he sent a text. Wow. Who does he think he is? Elvis? Okay. Katy Perry, beautiful. Thought maybe Andy wrecked Stephon Diggs' Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon or something and disappeared on us. But he's here. Here comes Katy Perry. That would be Katy Perry. That would mean Andy Everett is nearby. We'll go to him in a moment as we go to the voice of UTSA athletics and our golf guru on Mondays at this time. But first, want to congratulate our winner for the, and we'll do this every day this week at 8:20, but today's winner for the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas tickets, Jason Paniagua. And I love seeing one of our regular Facebook Live participants win. We see Jason quite a bit joining us on Facebook Live. So congratulations, Jason Paniagua. If you would like to be the winner, Go subscribe to the insider email at either AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760's website. Later today, you'll get the keyword for tomorrow at 8:20, and you can do it all week and lots of other reasons to subscribe to the email. And also, before we go to Andy, Shannon, you've got some breaking news from the NFL.
Yes, the NFL has officially announced that next year's draft will take place in Vegas. Of course, it was supposed to be there last year, but that little thing called COVID kind of ruined that. So that'll be super exciting. I'm excited just for the season to hopefully see fans get to enter that brand new stadium, which will still feel very brand new after it played to an empty stadium all last season.
An NFL draft in Vegas. You could have like Elvis impersonators come out, Vegas showgirls.
We can get Drew Pearson to announce in an Elvis outfit.
Perfect. We need to get him on the show and suggest that to him. We will do that. All right, here he is. And he did some football this weekend. It was the UTSA spring game. He is the voice of UTSA athletics. Andy Everett, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you all?
Very good. Did it feel good? I imagine it's what you do, doing some play-by-play for UTSA football on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a little bit different because, we were on the practice field, so you really couldn't see it from the same vantage point that we would in a stadium, in a radio booth somewhere. And there was no replay monitors, so you couldn't see the play over again and things like that. But, yeah, it was good. They ran about, 50 plays or so and got into that, and we got to talk about UTSA. And there's so many exciting things going on out there. Their new athletic facility called the Race Facility will be open in late June, early July, so that everybody can move in from an athletic standpoint before the school year. And we're also hoping that as more and more people get vaccinated and cases go down, that more and more good things and positive things can happen for fans to be able to attend games come the fall, which we hopefully will learn this summer.
I hear quarterback Frank Harris looked strong in the spring game.
Yeah, and I think that's to be expected because the other guys really haven't had the snaps that he has. Even Josh Atkins, who is, I think, right now the number 2 quarterback, and JoJo Weeks that played a lot last year as well, just haven't had the reps that he's had. And obviously, most of the time, Frank's taking snaps with the rest of the ones, if you will, and the others are taking snaps with the 2s and 3s. And certainly they interchange things, but when you have the best players out there with a starting quarterback, things tend to click well. And even if he does not perform the best of the quarterbacks, I don't think there's any question that he's the leader of this team, especially on offense. Rashad Wilson's probably the leader of that team on defense. And if your quarterback is your leader, that's really a good thing because he's going to have the ball in his hands on every play.
And spring games tend to be very vanilla as they are just a practice way ahead of the start of the season. But any standouts player-wise or even play-wise that happened over the weekend?
Says UCLA has a wide receiver that I think is really unheralded in Zachary Franklin. And the first year in 2019, I think he was targeted 33 times and caught 32 passes, and the one he didn't catch was about 10 feet over his head. And then last year, I don't recall him ever dropping the ball. If he did, it was no more than once. And again, yesterday, if the ball was catchable, he caught it. And we talk about Sincere McCormick as UTSA's next potential NFL draft pick, and possibly Jalen Haynes on the defensive line as well if he can stay healthy. But I think Zachary Franklin has pro potential. He runs unbelievable routes. And sometimes when I'm calling the play, I can kind of see his route out of the corner of my eye, and he gets so much separation on the defensive back that it's easy for the quarterback to find him. And as I said, he doesn't drop much.
Andy, you mentioned running back Sincere McCormick, who led the nation in rushing through many weeks of the college football season last year. Did we see Sincere McCormick in the spring game at all?
I think he carried it twice yesterday, maybe once. But there's no sense in letting a lot of those guys get hit unnecessarily. Especially when you're kind of going, I would say 80% contact yesterday. There was some tackling, but you don't want to get people hurt at this stage. And Now, one of the things, there's always a fine line for football coaches and players. How much do you hit so that you're used to getting hit, and how much do you not hit so you don't get somebody hurt? And the quarterbacks all wear red jerseys there, so you know not to hit them. But these guys are so fast and so big and so strong and moving at such an unbelievable rate that a lot of times collisions can create injuries. And that's the most important thing that you want to get through in the spring, is to make sure everybody's healthy going into the summer workouts. And then come that first weekend in August when everybody reports back for fall camp, you're in relatively good health as you take that 4-week step into the first game against Illinois.
Andy, while we've got you on, of course, you are our resident golf guru, so I've got to ask you something PGA related. And Chris brought up today that it is the birthday of one Brooks Koepka. He's won a couple majors in his career. I didn't realize he was so young, born in 1990. Where does his career stand in comparison to the Jordan Spieths and Justin Thomases, who get compared to, like, could be the next Tiger Woods kind of guy with all the wins they have under their belt so young? I feel like Brooks Koepka, even though he has so many wins, he's never really been a part of that conversation.
Well, I think the biggest issue the last 2 years is he's been hurt, and he's had a knee injury, a little bit of a back injury, and he hasn't been able to consistently play, and he didn't play a lot during COVID last year. I don't think he ever got it or any of those things, but I just think he's trying to battle back from injury. And I think when Brooks is playing well, he's as good as anyone. And, you know, look at there was a stat that I saw the other day. If you take Dustin Johnson, I believe it's Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, and add them all together, they don't have as many wins. I think that comes up to like 60 wins or something like that. There was 4 players that equal 79. They had 4 other Hall of Fame players, including Phil Mickelson, that was in the mix. No one's going to get to 82, not in a long, long time. That player does not exist because there's just too many really good players out there that have figured out this evolution of the game. When Tiger came along and was hitting driver wedge to par 5s, no one else was. And the tour had to adapt, and players had to adapt. And most of those players like David Duval and BJ Singh and guys like that Tiger started competing with early on in his career, they're either on the Champions Tour or they're broadcasting or they're a club pro somewhere. They don't play competitive golf anymore. And so I think that's going to be the biggest hindrance of somebody getting to 82, or if Tiger comes back and wins more. But I put Koepka up there. He's as good as any of those top 5 or 6 guys when he's healthy.
Andy, you mentioned Tiger Woods, and obviously we don't know if Tiger will come back and be able to play on the PGA Tour again. But you've reported on Tiger. You've talked a lot of Tiger over the years. What's your gut feeling? What do you think happens with Tiger in the aftermath of this injury?
Well, I think he hasn't let us know how severe it is. The doctors have given us all the bad news with how much your ankle is shattered and all of those things. But he hasn't told us how he feels. And what I'm going to be interested in, and I think most golfers realize, golf instructors say, thank goodness it's the right leg, because the left one was the one that was destroyed basically by running and jogging, and the ACL had to be repaired. He played on the broken leg at the U.S. Open in 2008. If that bone or bones in his ankle and lower leg can heal properly, I don't see any reason why he can't play golf again, as long as he can walk 20 to 25 miles a week without an extensive amount of pain. Most golfers get to an event on Tuesday afternoon, play a practice round, they play the pro-am on Wednesday, and then it's go time Thursday through Sunday. So you're walking that golf course at least 6 times that week, and that's about 30, 35 miles of walking that you're going to have to do to play on the PGA Tour. So can he do that comfortably? I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And then I think desire-wise, I don't think he's done. I think he still wants to set records. I still think he wants to win golf tournaments. And I'm sure he's got the calendar circled for sometime in March next year for a tune-up event before the Masters, if everything can go according to plan. But that's just all contingent on how he feels. I guarantee you he'll rehab it to the nth degree. He'll do more rehab than the doctors probably want him to once he gets the green light for that. That's just the competitive nature that he has. But I'm not 100% going to give up on him yet. I think he's got something left if he can get that leg healed.
And finally, Andy, speaking of golf, and you are host of the golf show on Ticket 760 in San Antonio, Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock. What's the next big thing on the PGA Tour? What's on your radar? What's the next big thing we should pay attention to?
The PGA Championship is in 2 weeks. They'll play at Quail Hollow this week and the PGA after that. And then the way they have these majors laid out right now, you've got the Players Championship, which I think is kind of a major, even though we don't count it as one. It's got the strongest field on one of the hardest golf courses. So that's March, Masters in April. Then you have the PGA in May, the U.S. Open in July or June. And I'm still kind of questioning how they're going to pull off a British Open/Open Championship in England. I've heard some stories that England's going to start letting international travel resume in the next few weeks. But the way it is right now, you have to quarantine when you go to England for a few weeks. I think it's 14 days still. And I don't know how you can have international players going. Plus the fact that as soon as they're done in England, they have less than 10 days to get or less than 2 weeks to get to Japan for the Olympics for the 3 golfers from the United States that make that team and from all around the world. So it's going to be interesting how they pull off the international events. And the biggest one is the British Open, and usually the Scottish Open is the week before that. So I'm hoping that we have a full field at the Open Championship in July, but that's about 3 months off.
Andy will certainly keep an eye on all of that, and he'll do that for us as well. Andy Everett, host of the golf show on Ticket 760 in San Antonio, 8 o'clock Saturdays. Even if you're not in San Antonio, you can find that on the iHeartRadio app and, of course, the voice of UTSA Athletics. Andy, always outstanding, sir. Thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Andy Everett. All right, Shannon, we had a poll question. We are grading the Dallas Cowboys in this weekend's past NFL draft. What grade do they receive?
Yeah, most of the votes coming in now, 53% to be exact, are voting a B for the Dallas Cowboys 2021 draft. Coming in second, a C with 20%, followed by D or F, 17%. Only 7% saying A.
Who gives them a D or F? That's just your negative Twitter people. Haters. I think B is about right.
Yeah.
I think an A would be, maybe someday we look back on this draft, if their first 6 picks that were on the defensive side of the ball, if 4 of them hit, it could become an A one day, but I think B is about accurate. So the listeners/viewers, I think, made the right call. So
I think so.
Woo. So good luck today. Your second COVID shot at 2:30 at HEB. I hope it goes well, Shannon.
Yes, sir. Me too. I hope the guy who gives it to me this time doesn't have any jokes.
Yeah, don't joke with me.
Last time was not just do it, man.
It's like it's a vaccine. It's not a comedy club, dude. Don't make me heckle you.
I could close my eyes too while I was doing this. Man, that's not funny.
Dave Ayler in the Iron Maiden t-shirt. Outstanding job, sir.
I had to close my eyes to get the shot too, so don't feel bad.
May the 4th be with you and all of us tomorrow. I'm sure the 4th will be with us always. Our thanks to Andy Everett as well. We will see you in about 21 hours, and we will hopefully see Shannon Salty Sweeney, who, unlike me, might show up for work the day after her COVID shot. Going to be interesting. See you in 21 hours and your chance again tomorrow to win NASCAR Cup Race Series tickets at Circuit of the Americas. Have yourself a great Monday. Adios. Woo!